This week on the Racing Insiders, we go to Long Beach. We get the complete story from as many angles as possible, including the Tudor United Sports Car Championship, the Pirelli World Challenge run. Great run in that event. We find out some headlines from Wayne Taylor Racing. They're bringing in some new sponsorship at a time when everybody is looking around trying to find some money. And an exclusive look at F1 Kers technology. Can it relate to sports cars? That's more coming up on the Racing Insiders. Welcome back to the Racing Insiders, the only place in broadcasting where you're going to get sports car content every week. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles. Jeff Lepper is on assignment with the Pirelli World Challenge in Long Beach. Jeff, that's really difficult to take such a strange assignment. Waking up looking at that view must be incredible.
Yeah, I got the harbor behind me. The Queen Mary's just off to my left here. I don't think I could be in a more perfect place.
And the Pirelli World Challenge, give us a quick headline. We're going to get details later. Give us a quick headline on what happened in the race on Sunday.
Well, it was an exciting race. It only had one caution with an incident right at the beginning. But, you know, a new guy on the top three. 1-2 for one team, and then our GTS category was just a barn burner there, nose to tail, and a breakout driver finally got through. I'll have a full report a little bit later.
It's a full report. You can't wait. One team dominated completely, the other a last lap pass. A great story. Let's get right now to the Tudor United Sports Car Championship with our special correspondent John DeGeese, Sports Car 365. We know who won, John. Scott Pruitt and Memo Rojas. That's nothing new. They win all the time. What can we take away from this race that we could use the rest of the season?
Well, Bill, this was a complete contrast to what we saw 3 weeks ago at Sebring, which was filled with cautions, controversy, and wrecks. Long Beach didn't see any of those. We saw a 100-minute race, clean and green, no significant accidents, and no officiating questions at all up in race control. Obviously, Memo Rojas, Scott Pruitt put on a dominating performance, but we saw some close battles up front and in the prototype class and GT Le Mans as well.
It was great racing. I watched it from start to finish. Was it because there were fewer cars? They didn't have the GTD or the PC cars, the prototype challenge cars, and it seemed like a better race. Is that your take also?
I think that definitely helped things. You know, putting a full grid of 60 cars on a street circuit on a 1.9 mile track wouldn't have worked anyway. So what we saw were 21 cars. It wasn't a really big grid, but at the same time, it produced a lot of great racing.
So does it look like Ganassi is going to have a good advance, a good challenge to the championship? It seems to be wide open right now, and the Ganassi knows how to win championships. Pruitt and Rojas, is this a good start for them taking off for another championship for that crew?
I think it's anybody's game right now. The Action Express duo of Joao Barbosa and Christian Fittipaldi actually still lead the championship, just marginally. But something to look forward in the next few races is to see where the P2 cars will stack up. Obviously, one of the big storylines heading into the weekend was where will the P2 cars be at Long Beach? You know, some thought they might have been the favorites. Some thought they might be at a disadvantage due to the BOP. And I think what we saw in the race was that the DPs were definitely significantly quicker than the P2s in race trim. So will that change for the next race at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca? You know, I think we'll have to wait and see, and what really happens for the balance of the year, and then if the ESM guys or Oak Racing can mount a challenge for the title as well.
Let's talk about the GT racing. Once again, it was a spectacular show, and the race wasn't decided until the last few minutes.
Absolutely. Corvette Racing took its first victory for the new Corvette C7R, and it was a pretty flawless run for that team. Antonio Garcia got out into an early lead, aided by a slow LMP2 car through traffic, and got out to about a 10-second advantage over the rest of the GT LM cars. But you know, they crawled their way back up a little bit, and it ended up being a great fight for the last couple podium positions, and nearly was a Corvette 1-2. Tommy Milner put some big pressure on Dirk Mueller in the closing laps, and the BMW held on to the second place, and Milner had to settle for third. But as you say, Bill, I think GT Le Mans is definitely one of the most competitive classes in the series, and it was great to see them sort of run unrestricted in a way. They didn't have to deal with any kind of GT Daytona traffic, and sort of got to shine in their own light. And particularly, I'm looking forward to some of the races later in the year where they sort of take the headline act. There's going to be a standalone race at Virginia International Raceway where it's just GT Le Mans, GT Daytona, and they'll be fighting for the overall win over there. I think that's going to be really cool to see.
John DeGee, Sports Car 365. You always get a great meat sandwich from him and something to take away. You always learn something listening to John. John, thank you, partner. It's good to talk to you again.
Yep, thanks for having me on.
Before we get out of here, there was one headline. Wayne Taylor Racing announced new sponsorship from Konica Minolta. We had a chance to get a quick conversation with Wayne at that news conference and see the unveiling of the dry carbon car. It's a beautiful car.
Congratulations. This is a major announcement. It's a big step for you.
Yeah, it really is. It's really difficult when you're trying to compete at the top end. And, these cars and teams require an awful amount of money to keep them up front. And so bringing on somebody like Konica Minolta has made my life a lot easier, and they're a great partner to work with. I've known Rick for so long, and there's a lot of positive things going on.
We talked in the back of your hauler at some racetrack about the need for this infusion of cash. Is this the money that you needed to be able to compete with some of the better funded teams now?
Yeah, it does. It allows me now to do the testing that I want to do. It allows me to do some special projects that we would want to do during the season, because the series is so competitive. So we have to be out on the leading edge all the time. And when you don't have a budget, you don't do testing, you don't do, and nowadays you have to do that. So this enables me to go testing and do all the right things, to put into the program.
Jeff, give us some more details now on what was a very exciting race. I enjoyed it. It was a good show.
Well, the Roar by the Shore presented by Kia, the 9th straight year that Pirelli World Challenge has been coming to Long Beach, and this was the 40th anniversary of the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. I can't ask for a more picturesque setting here. 40 cars took the green flag with 20 GT cars, 20 GTS cars, and it was that Cadillac Racing CTS VRs of Johnny O'Connell and Andy Pilgrim. 1-2 for those guys. Johnny led flag to flag from pole position. This place owed him from last year when he led flag to flag again, had some shrapnel come through from Alex Figge's Volvo S60R when it shattered the brake rotor, went through the radiator on the pace lap, on the last lap, 0.7 miles from the finish. Johnny O'Connell had to pull over. His race was done. He finally gets some revenge on this place, and that's owed him so much in Pirelli World Challenge. And Anthony Lazzaro, the R. Ferry Motorsports Ferrari 458 Italia, on the podium for the first time in Pirelli World Challenge, back in a Ferrari. In our GTS category, it was Nick Janssen, set second on the grid. Jack Roush Jr. was on the pole, great run for him, but Nick Janssen led flag to flag in that Kia Motors America DonorsChoose.org car, and he finally got that Optima in sound. Had a heartbreak year last year, trouble after trouble after trouble. He gets out for the win. Tony Buffamonte in second in the Capaldi Racing Ford Racing Mustang, his first time in the series now, gets a second place podium. And then Mark Wilkins finished second in the championship last year. He finishes third at Long Beach today.
Couple of questions about the GTS. Let's go there right away. There was a problem on the first lap with David Sturks, the Super Production Rally champion, running into Jack Baldwin, the former Trans Am champion. Baldwin took a major hit in his chances for a GTS title. You got any update on any of that?
Well, the best update that I have for you there, Bill, was also that David Sturks was also involved with Lawson Aschenbach, your 2013 champion and St. Pete winner. That took Lawson out as well, right front suspension damage. And honestly, Jack Baldwin was just an innocent bystander in his Reset MD Porsche Cayman. Sturks came across his front nose. Baldwin was stuck up against the wall into Sturks. So that put Lawson Aschenbach and Jack Baldwin out of this championship. That's going to be major catch-up all year long. That's going to be the story to watch in Pirelli World Challenge and GTS.
And Jack Roush Jr., he started off strong, but evidently he didn't take care of his tires well enough, and he backed up even to the last lap.
Yeah, he ended up in that 4th position when Mark Wilkins got around him. Was kind of a heartbreak for him, but he's proving that, hey, he is a driver. He's always run with a co-driver, and he's had some great co-drivers, but now he's proving that he is the real deal. 4th at Long Beach, that's nothing to be ashamed of.
Yeah, it does prove that. Billy Johnson has always driven with him in the Mustang and Grand Am, in the Coney Challenge and in the Continental Tire Challenge. But now you're right. He is proving that he's a pretty good driver. He could wheel that thing. He was on the pole, which shows a sign of speed, and now maybe a little more discipline to take care of his tires. You think he could be a challenge for the championship in GTS?
I really think so. I think with the Roush Fenway team behind him, I mean, we saw it at St. Pete. He had an incident at St. Pete. They pulled the spare car out. He was able to run that car. That car is still racing, and they're getting the primary car fixed. So the resources that team have and what he's been doing as a driver, I think he's a legitimate shot for the championship, especially with the development of Jack Baldwin and Lawson Aschenbach here at this round.
I don't want to stroke you, dude. That Pirelli World Challenge race was really exciting. Like I told you before the show, I was listening to it in the car. The technology nowadays to listen to a web stream on your phone while you're driving in the car through your Bluetooth, that's pretty crazy. You couldn't think of doing that a few years ago. We'll be right back with Jeff later in the webcast with a little about what's going to happen over the weekend. Now let's go to Peter Keane, our other correspondent with the Tudor United Sports Car Championship. He found some time with Michael Valiente, Spirit of Daytona. Michael had a great weekend, good qualifying, didn't do so well in the race. Here's Peter.
I'm here at Long Beach, California with Michael Valiente. Beautiful Southern California weather. We just would like to talk about the mindset going from 2 endurance races on traditional road courses to now we're in the canyons and it's a 100-minute street fight.
Well, first off, it's a really challenging course because with the walls here, you really can't make any mistake. So you really got to make sure that if you commit to a pass, that you can follow through without sliding wide and brushing the wall. So that's a big challenge. But all these races now, the cars are so competitive and there's such a high quality of drivers, you're pushing 100% the whole time. So this race as well, even though it's short, we're still going to be pushing just as hard as we have, even though the last 2 were longer endurance races.
And I think we were, in the top 5 there and running in practice or whatever. And I think we got a package that we can work with. I think it's still a little bit aggressive on the bumps. I mean, what did you think? I mean, I think you progressively got better as the session went on.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't roll out with the best car, and we haven't really done much testing this year. So with all these new rules, it's testing things on race weekends now until we can really get a few solid test days. So in practice, we just kept improving the car, and I think we are in pretty good shape, and we've got another session in qualifying. So I think in the race, we'll have decent pace for a podium, and who knows, you could even get a win out of this race. But we just have to be smart about it.
Thanks, Peter. Michael Valiente had a great run, didn't have a great result for Spirit of Daytona, but he was very strong in practice and in qualifying with his teammate, Richard Westbrook. So right after this, we'll have a look at another Pirelli World Challenge driver, Mark Wilkins, who's driving your daddy's car. Looks like a sedan, but this thing is super fast, the Kia. We'll talk to him right after this. This is the Racing Insider.
This segment of the Racing Insiders was brought to you by Go Pro, be a hero. Want to keep up with all the racing action at the track? Well, download the new Go Racing TV iPhone and Android app. And remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Welcome back to the Racing Insiders. You see Kia out there racing and doing well with the Kinetic Motorsports branding on the car. They built the cars, and these cars are super fast. This year, Mark Wilkins is behind the wheel with Nick Johnson. Mark Wilkins is super fast in these cars, the Kia Optima. You can't believe how big this thing is and how fast it gets around even a tight track like Long Beach. Mark Wilkins explained how in this exclusive conversation.
A four-door sedan, do you ever, first time you're used to it now, but the first time you looked in the rearview mirror and saw a back seat, that must have taken you back a little bit.
Yeah, it is. It's a big car, but it can race against the best of what anyone has to offer out here, and that's what we've been proving with this car in the last couple of years. The different circuits really suit the different cars. Long Beach, I think, will suit our car really well. But yeah, when you look in the mirror and you're racing with a whole bunch of different manufacturers, some pretty small cars, especially in the GT class, and you look in that mirror and you're like, wow, that car's awful low, and it's sometimes hard to see.
When you see a car this long, is a street circuit with tight corners and everything, is that the best thing to have versus being out on a road course? Because I'm told that there's an optimum at like around 100 to 104 wheelbase is kind of the perfect, and you're longer than that, aren't you?
Yeah, it is. The tighter the corner is, gives us a little bit of challenge. We have to be patient, get the car rotated, but we can get off the corners really well. With
the front wheel drive.
With front wheel drive, yeah. We can. The car's does a great job of coming off, and we've been working hard to constantly improve that, and it's definitely been one of our strong suits. And but yeah, you're right. The road courses with the long, fast flowing corners really suit the long wheelbase car, and you can carry lots of speed and momentum and get back to throttle and really run the car very hard on that type of circuit as well.
Like Barber, that's the perfect place for the Kia?
We're very excited to go to Barber, Road America, Mid-Ohio. There's a lot of these courses really suit the car very well. And, we've been working really hard in the off-season to constantly make it better everywhere we go. And I think we have the strongest race car we've had to date, to bring to Long Beach and then to Barber in a few weeks.
It's really crazy to hear the car and to see it rotate through the turns. That's how they talk about getting through the turns nowadays. But to get that front wheel drive car, long wheelbase around those tight turns at Long Beach, fascinating show. We always say the Racing Insiders is not a Formula One show. It's about sports cars. But when Formula One technology might have an impact on sports cars, we want to share it with you. We have this piece from the Mercedes F1 program about their kinetic energy recovery system. Some sort of a hybrid system is mandatory in the World Endurance Championship. Here's how one from F1 might work if it was in the World Endurance Championship.
For Mercedes-Benz, Formula One is the perfect laboratory for developing state-of-the-art technology. The new rules call for major improvements in energy efficiency. Each car may now use just 100 kilograms of fuel per race, equivalent to around 130 litres, which means it must now deliver top performance on 1/3 less fuel. It is achieved with a downsized 1.6-litre turbo hybrid engine. The turbo uses exhaust gases to drive a compressor to push more air and therefore more oxygen into the engine. Together with high-pressure direct fuel injection, this makes combustion more efficient, more power using less fuel. Another challenge is increased heat in the more compact engine. Mercedes partner Petronas was integral to the development of the power unit and has created an oil that seems to reverse the laws of physics. As it heats up, Petronas Syntium gains in density instead of getting thinner, protecting the engine even under the greatest loads where other oils fail. The engine is boosted by a hybrid system made up of 2 electrical motor generators to recycle energy that would otherwise be lost. The MG UK delivers up to 160 horsepower for 33 seconds per lap, equivalent to a Mercedes C220 CDI. Connected to the braking system and acting as a generator, the MG UK can feed so much energy into the battery every lap that you could talk for 370 hours on your BlackBerry smartphone. The second motor generator unit, the MG UH, harvests the turbo energy. As a motor, it spins up the compressor to eliminate turbo lag, but it can also send energy directly to the other electric machine and vice versa for maximum efficiency. However, the main job for both electric machines is to deliver energy to the lithium-ion batteries. These must weigh between 20 and 25 kilograms. Low weight and constant charging and discharging are major challenges. At Mercedes, the development process produced new learnings for road car battery production. Overall, the new power unit is over 30% more energy efficient. So if you use this technology in your road car, it would cost you just €40 to fill your tank instead of €60, and you would enjoy more performance too. The PU106A hybrid power unit, state-of-the-art technology at the heart of the winning Mercedes F1 W05 hybrid race car.
It's always interesting to see how this stuff might play with each other. That's the F1 program at Mercedes, how it might work in a sports car program. Let's go to the Racing Insiders calendar this weekend. A holiday weekend, Good Friday tomorrow and Easter Sunday this weekend. The European Le Mans Championship, it opens in Silverstone this weekend, and the FI World Touring Cars, that is in Paul Ricard in France. That's Sebastian Loeb's home country. Loeb last weekend won the second round after finishing second in the first round, both at Marrakesh last weekend. He is 1 point back in the early going for the championship in World Touring Car. Jeff, the guy is, both of us are fans, the guy has won 9 straight rally championships, took a year off, and now he potentially could win 10 championships in 11 years in different disciplines on the world stage. I don't know that anybody can say anything close to that.
Yeah, kind of starting to think that Sebastian Loeb is slowly becoming the Bo Jackson of motorsports. I mean, this guy can do it all. I don't know what else there is left for him to accomplish, but he's still accomplishing all sorts of feats.
Yeah, and then Paul Ricard in France, don't be surprised if he wins both rounds. He's from France. Don't be surprised if he takes both rounds. Just an incredible driver, and hopefully the United States at some point begins to recognize that. If they can give Jimmy Johnson a lot of props for 5 and 6 championships, then you got to give Sebastian Loeb some props for 9 in a row and leading, potentially winning another championship in a different discipline altogether. That's the Racing Insiders for this week. I'm Bill Wood in Los Angeles for Jeff Lepper, with difficult assignment, Jeff, there in Long Beach with the Pirelli World Challenge. Look forward to seeing you next week. Take care of each other, respect each other. Until then, peace.